Wasn't until Khloe, the scholarship student, showed up that I realized I was just a placeholder princess. But my father didn't know that. So at a business gala, he announced loudly, "Anya, tell daddy who you like. Bring him over and I'll welcome my new son-in-law today." The entire ballroom turned to look at the three wealthy heirs who had once been my closest friends, my protectors. But the three of them acted as if they hadn't heard a thing. One was feeding Khloe a piece of cake. Another was making her laugh. The third was watching her with an expression of pure, tender adoration. The silence was thick with awkwardness. My father's face stiffened. "Dad," I said quickly, "my boyfriend is studying abroad. I'll bring him to meet you when he's back." The three of them shot me a look of pure scorn. I knew they didn't believe me. They thought I was just trying to save face. But the truth was, I really did have a boyfriend. The next time I visited their homes, it was to deliver my wedding invitations. I was having tea with Mrs. Hayes when Liam, her son, came downstairs. "Liam, darling," she called out. "We were just talking about Anya's wedding." Liam, every inch the domineering CEO, shot me a glare. "Anya, who said anything about marrying you? Don't use my mother to pressure me. I've told you I'm not interested. Get it through your head." He stormed out of the house without another word. Mrs. Hayes sighed. "That boy only ever hears half of a conversation. Who said you were marrying him?" She looked at me apologetically. "Anya, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into Liam. He used to adore you. He and the other two were always fighting over who could be nicer to you. I used to think he'd have to fight them off if he wanted to be my son-in-law, but now," I just smiled and shook my head. "It's fine. You can't force a connection that isn't there. Well, I should get going." "Of course, dear. We'll be at your wedding." From the Hayes' estate, I went to the Thorne residence. As the maid was showing me in, Ethan was just ending a call. The moment he saw me, a smirk touched his lips. "Liam just called," he said, walking towards me. "Said you tried to force a marriage proposal at his house and now you're trying your luck with me?" He put on his usual mask of gentle civility. "Anya, I thought we made it clear at the gala. We're not interested in you. We're not going to marry you. You should stop this." I just smiled and nodded, which is why I'm here to deliver my wedding invitation. He froze for a second, then that mocking smile returned. "Let me guess. You're pulling the same stunt your father did, hoping to corner one of us at the altar so we'll have to play along to avoid a scene? Anya, haven't you learned your lesson? We don't like you, and we won't do anything that might make Khloe misunderstand. You won't be able to invent another fake boyfriend to save yourself this time." I shook my head, about to speak, but his phone rang again. His entire demeanor softened when he saw the caller ID. "Hey, Khloe. Okay, I'll be right there." He hung up and shot me a look that said, "You're on your own," before brushing past me and leaving. It seemed that because of my father's stunt at the gala, they were utterly convinced I was trying to trap one of them into marriage. Fine, they'd find out the truth soon enough. Mrs. Thorne came out then, greeting me warmly and accepting the invitation. "My Ethan just doesn't know how lucky he could have been," she sighed. I was delivering the invitations myself because, despite the fractured friendship with the three of them, their parents had always been incredibly kind to me. After my mother died and my father threw himself into his work, I had spent my childhood rotating between their three homes. I would never forget the warmth and love they had shown me. Just then, I saw a new post on Khloe's social media. A picture of the four of them at an amusement park. Perfect. That meant I could go to the third house without any interruptions. I was sitting with Mrs. Monroe when I said, "The wedding is next month? Mom, how could you arrange a marriage between me and Anya without asking me? This is my girlfriend, Khloe." Noah Monroe stormed in, pulling Khloe by the hand. "Mom, I know we used to play house and you all joked about me marrying Anya, but we were just kids. We're adults now. You have to respect my choice." Mrs. Monroe was stunned. "Noah, that's not—" But Noah, never one for patience, was already glaring at me. "Anya, can you just stop chasing us? Do you really think getting our parents to pressure us is going to work? Can't you see how much we can't stand you right now? How we're trying to get away from you?" "Noah!" Mrs. Monroe snapped, her voice sharp, but he wasn't listening. "I love Khloe, and I will never, ever marry Anya. So you can all just wait for a wedding that's never going to happen." He grabbed Khloe's hand and dragged her out. Mrs. Monroe sighed heavily. "He's not even interested in Anya. Where does he get the confidence to think she'd want to marry him?" I just shrugged with a small smile. "He probably dislikes me so much right now he can't be bothered to listen to anything I say. It's fine. They'll all understand eventually." When I left the Monroe mansion, all four of them, Liam, Ethan, Noah, and Khloe, were waiting outside. Remembering how much they supposedly despised me, I decided to ignore them and walk away. "Anya!" Khloe ran up and grabbed my arm. "Don't misunderstand. Noah was just pretending I was his girlfriend to get you to back off." "Khloe, why are you even talking to her? I'm doing this to get rid of her," Noah called out impatiently. "Noah, don't be like that. We're all friends. I only met you guys because of Anya. I miss the days when the five of us used to hang out together," Khloe said sweetly. "Anya, please don't be mad at everyone. I really want us all to be friends again." As she spoke, her nails dug sharply into my arm. I hissed in pain and pulled my arm away. "Ah!" She stumbled backward as if I had shoved her with all my might. "Khloe!" The three of them rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern. "Anya, Khloe is being so nice to you and you push her? Have you no conscience?" Noah yelled. Ethan's face was cold. "Khloe has been trying to get you to rejoin our group, but it seems you're just not worthy." "Apologize to Khloe right now, Anya," Liam commanded, his voice low and dangerous. Khloe leaned against Liam, looking fragile and hurt, but her eyes, when they met mine, were filled with a familiar, triumphant malice. I brushed off my arm and gave them a cold look. "I'm so terrible. Why would I ever apologize to her? If you just keep her away from me, she won't get hurt. Problem solved." I turned and walked away. "Anya, if you don't learn to be kind to Khloe, then there's nothing left between us." Liam's cold voice followed me. A bitter smile touched my lips. Since Khloe had appeared, had there ever been anything left between us to begin with? That evening, Mrs. Hayes asked me to deliver some medication to her at their vacation villa in the suburbs. But when I got there, only Liam, Ethan, and Noah were there. It turned out our parents had tricked all of us. and our cars were gone. There was no way to get back to the city tonight. On the phone, Mrs. Hayes said she hoped that by being in this place, a place filled with so many childhood memories, we would reconcile and become friends again. Noah scoffed. What a waste of time. I wonder if Khloe needs us for anything. His words made Liam and Ethan frown with worry. I agreed it was a waste of time, but looking around the familiar villa, I couldn't help but feel a pang of nostalgia. I walked over to the grand piano that had been sitting in the corner for over a decade. I remembered the four of us, 8 clumsy hands trying to play a duet. Noah was always the troublemaker, and we would end up bickering and laughing while our parents watched, taking countless pictures of us at this very piano. Khloe started taking piano lessons. Look, I took a video of her. Noah pulled out his phone. Liam and Ethan immediately crowded around to watch. The sound of hesitant, clumsy notes filled the air, followed by Khloe's sweet voice. They watched, completely engrossed, their faces lit up with smiles. I stepped outside onto the patio. The lights illuminated the swimming pool. I remembered the summer they'd had a contest to see who could hold their breath the longest. I was so young, I thought they were drowning. I jumped in, screaming, to save them. Liam! Ethan! Noah! Don't worry, I'm coming. Of course, I was the one who ended up swallowing half the pool. They all had to work together to pull me out, half laughing, half exasperated. Our little Anya, so cute and so clumsy. We'll have to protect you forever. The words echoed in my ears, and they had. They had protected me my entire life. They shielded me from every danger, took me for ice cream, took me on adventures. The air around me seemed to shimmer with the ghosts of our laughter. But then, a real voice shattered the illusion. Khloe, don't be scared. We're coming to get you right now. Liam was on the phone with her, his voice frantic. There's a thunderstorm in the city and Khloe's terrified. We have to go to her. He turned to the other two, who looked just as panicked. They rushed out of the villa, looking around wildly. There are no cars. I don't care. I'm not waiting. I'm running back. Noah gritted his teeth and started sprinting into the darkness. The other two were right behind him. Wait, I called out. Noah spun around and glared at me. Anya, Khloe is crying her eyes out and you're trying to stop us because you're jealous? Liam and Ethan shot me equally annoyed looks. My face was impassive. By the time you run all the way back, the storm will be over and she'll have already been scared. Then what are we supposed to do? We can't just wait here. Noah seethed, ready to run again. Ethan, the more rational of the three, stopped him. Let's call someone to pick us up, and in the meantime, we'll look for another way to get back. They started searching the villa grounds with their phone flashlights. We knew every inch of this place from all the games of hide-and-seek we had played as kids. There's an old utility vehicle over here, I said, shining my light on a dusty 3-wheeled vehicle in the corner of the garage. They rushed over. After a bit of effort, they managed to get it started. Liam got in the driver's seat. Ethan and Noah squeezed into the back. It was a tight fit. There was no room for a third person. They all hesitated, looking at me. I shrugged. I never planned on going back with you anyway. Go ahead. Anya, Ethan started. My voice was cool. Khloe's probably terrified. That was all it took. Their concern for me evaporated. Anya, we'll send someone back for you, Liam said, and then he was gone, the little vehicle sputtering off into the night, carrying them towards the girl they cared about, and with them disappeared 20 years of memories. Goodbye, my old friends, I whispered to the darkness. Just then, a sleek black car pulled up. The man who got out had come straight from the airport.
I ran straight into his arms. You're finally back. The man caught me effortlessly, one arm wrapping around my waist. I'm sorry I'm late. His voice was low and warm beside my ear. For the first time in a very long time, I felt safe. I looked up at him and smiled. No, you're right on time. Damien Carter, my fiancé. The man the others had mocked as my imaginary boyfriend. The man who had been studying overseas while taking over his family's international business empire. The man I had loved for 3 years. Damien glanced toward the empty road where the utility vehicle had disappeared. They left you here? His eyes darkened. They had somewhere important to be. I didn't elaborate. I didn't need to. Damien seemed to understand anyway. He opened the passenger door for me. Come home with me. I nodded. Without looking back, I got into the car. The villa grew smaller and smaller behind us. Just like my past. A week later, the wedding invitations finally reached Liam, Ethan, and Noah. Not through their parents. Personally. Each invitation carried the same elegant gold lettering. Anya Sinclair and Damien Carter request the honor of your presence at their wedding. For a long time, none of them moved. Then Noah laughed. A fake invitation. Liam nodded coldly. Obviously. Ethan tossed his onto the table. She's still trying to get our attention. Yet none of them threw their invitations away. Instead, they each secretly looked up Damien Carter's name. Then their expressions changed. Because Damien Carter was real. Very real. Not only was he real, he was far wealthier than all three of them combined. The future heir of a multinational conglomerate. A man constantly featured in international financial magazines. The same man who had recently returned to the country after years abroad. The same return date Anya had mentioned at the gala. Silence filled the room. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on their faces. Meanwhile, Khloe's smile was becoming harder and harder to maintain. The three men had started asking questions. Small questions. Harmless questions. Questions she hated. Khloe, why did Anya suddenly stop talking to us? Khloe, when exactly did Anya push you? Khloe, why does every conflict somehow involve you? She answered each one perfectly. But a crack had already formed. Because once doubt appears, it grows. Then came the wedding day. The cathedral was overflowing with guests. Business leaders. Socialites. Old family friends. The three men arrived together. None of them admitted why. None of them admitted they hadn't slept properly for days. They just wanted to see. Just once. Just to prove it wasn't real. Then the music began. Everyone stood. The doors opened. And Anya appeared. In a white wedding dress. Holding Damien Carter's arm. The entire cathedral seemed to freeze. She looked radiant. Happy. Peaceful. Not a trace of the desperate girl they had imagined. She didn't even look at them. Not once. Liam felt his chest tighten. Noah's fingers clenched. Ethan stared without blinking. Something was wrong. Why did it hurt? This was what they wanted, wasn't it? They never intended to marry her. They never loved her. So why did it feel like they were losing something precious? Something they could never get back? Then Damien leaned down and kissed Anya's forehead. She laughed softly. The same laugh they had spent 20 years protecting. The same laugh they hadn't heard in months. And suddenly, all three remembered. The little girl who jumped into a swimming pool trying to save them. The little girl who cried when they got hurt. The little girl who followed them everywhere. The little girl who trusted them completely. The little girl they had abandoned. For the first time, regret appeared. Real regret. And it came far too late. The cathedral doors closed with a soft, final sound. But none of them moved. Liam was the first to step forward. One step, then another. Like something was pulling him forward against his will. No, Noah muttered under his breath, shaking his head as if denial could undo what he was seeing. Ethan stayed still, but his eyes never left the altar. At the front, Damien had just finished slipping the ring onto Anya's finger. She smiled at him like the world had finally settled into place. That smile hit harder than any accusation ever could, because it didn't belong to them anymore. A priest spoke words of blessing. The guests applauded. And Anya turned slightly. For the first time, her eyes passed over the crowd. They landed on them. Liam froze. For a second, something flickered in her expression. Recognition. Then, nothing. She looked away again. As if they were strangers. Noah took a sharp step forward. Anya. Heads turned. Whispers spread through the guests. Damien's gaze shifted slowly toward them. Calm. Measured. Unfriendly without needing to try. Anya didn't react at all. She simply lifted her bouquet and turned back to face the ceremony. Continue, she said softly. And the priest did. That was when it truly sank in. They were not part of her world anymore. Outside the cathedral, Khloe stood near the steps, her fingers trembling around her phone. She had seen enough from social media live streams. She had come too late to stop anything. Her carefully constructed image, her tears, her stories, her fragile innocence, felt thin now. Because truth didn't need to shout. It only needed to arrive once. Behind her, the doors opened again. Liam walked out first. His face was pale. Ethan followed, expression unreadable. Noah came last, jaw clenched so tightly it looked painful. Khloe forced a small smile. Did you see her? She looked happy, right? No one answered immediately. Then Noah spoke. Why didn't you tell us who Damien Carter was? The question was quiet. Not angry. Worse. Empty. Khloe blinked. I didn't think it mattered. She was always chasing you guys anyway. Stop, Ethan cut in. Just one word. Khloe's smile wavered. Liam's voice came next slower. Everything you told us. He paused. Like even saying it hurt his pride. Was it all true? Silence. Khloe's eyes widened slightly. Of course it was. She pushed me. She always. But Noah laughed suddenly. A short, humorless sound. You're still doing it. That broke something in the air. Because none of them believed her the way they used to. Not completely. Not blindly. And that was enough. Inside the cathedral, the ceremony ended. Applause filled the hall. Anya and Damien turned to leave together, greeted by congratulations and flashing cameras. For a brief moment, as she stepped down the aisle, she paused. Just for half a second. Her eyes drifted again toward the front row where they had been. Empty now. She exhaled softly. Anything wrong? Damien asked quietly. Anya shook her head. No. And she meant it. No hesitation. No regret. Only distance. She lifted her hand. The ring caught the light. Let's go home. And as they walked out together, the past didn't follow her. It stayed behind in the cathedral, sitting among the silence of three boys who finally understood what they had lost. Too late to undo it. Too late to even be forgiven. The cathedral emptied slowly. One by one, the guests left, their voices fading into polite chatter and distant engines. But Liam, Ethan, and Noah didn't move. They stayed seated in the same row, as if leaving would make it real. As if staying could somehow rewind time. Noah finally spoke first. She was never chasing us. His voice was hoarse. Ethan let out a quiet breath, almost a laugh. We just assumed she would always be there. Liam's hands were clenched so tightly his knuckles had gone white. She stopped looking at us. That was the part none of them could escape. Not the wedding. Not Damien Carter. Not even the truth about Khloe. It was that moment when Anya looked at them like nothing. Not hate. Not anger. Nothing. As if they had never mattered enough to hurt over. Outside, rain began to fall. Soft at first. Then heavier. Noah stood abruptly. I'm going to talk to her. Ethan looked up at him, tired. About what? Noah opened his mouth. Then stopped. Because he didn't have an answer. Liam stood next. Even if we go, what do we say? Silence again. This time, no one had a reply. Because for the first time in their lives, they realized something unbearable. They had never practiced losing her. At the same time, miles away, Anya stood by a window in Damien's car. The city lights blurred through the rain. Her wedding ring felt warm against her skin. Damien noticed her silence. Are you thinking about them? Anya didn't look away from the window. No. A pause. Then softer. Not anymore. Damien didn't press her. He simply reached over and held her hand. And that was enough. Days turned into weeks. Khloe's world collapsed quietly. The boys stopped defending her automatically. Questions replaced certainty. And without certainty, her lies had nowhere to stand. She left the city not long after. No dramatic exit. No tears that changed anything. Just absence. Like she had never truly belonged there either. Months later, Liam stood outside a building he used to pass without noticing. Ethan beside him. Noah behind them. Inside was a charity foundation. Her name was on the plaque. Anya Carter Foundation. They didn't go in. They just stood there. Watching strangers speak her name with respect. With gratitude. With distance. Noah gave a bitter smile. She really did move on. Ethan nodded faintly. She was always stronger than we thought. Liam said nothing. Because there was nothing left to argue. No misunderstanding left to fix. No apology that could reach her life anymore. Just a truth they had finally learned too late. Some people don't wait forever. Some people don't stay where they're taken for granted. And some love stories don't end in heartbreak. They end in silence. The kind you can never walk back into.